The Trefoil Talks, celebrating 30 years of Women of Distinction.
My name is Mary Pat King, and I'm the CEO of Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. Welcome to our Women of Distinction Trefoil Talks, a reimagining of our annual Women of Distinction event that honors its 30-year history. These live panel discussions will feature past Women of Distinction honorees and other notable women in our community. They'll be giving advice for young women who are making decisions about their future, continuing our goal of connecting today's women leaders with the future women leaders we are building at Girl Scouts. We are able to further our mission of building girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place because of your generosity, which is needed now more than ever. If you find this program to be valuable, please consider making a donation by visiting GSWCF.org/WOD, and we hope you will. And now, the Women of Distinction Trefoil Talks.
Hello, and welcome to each of you joining us for the inaugural Trefoil Talk live broadcast. I'm Yvonne and I'm thrilled to introduce my co-host, Lindsey, a very distinguished Girl Scout. As part of this year-long live series, tonight's focus is on women CEOs, and wow, do we have a fantastic panel representing some great organizations in West Central Florida.
Thank you so much, Miss Yvonne. And hello, everybody. I am super excited about this event and just to be here and able to talk to these amazing women this evening about their journeys to become CEOs.
Me too, Lindsey. Thank you. One of our panelists tonight has a special message to start us out for all of us before we begin our questions. Let's take a moment to hear from Lorna Taylor, CEO of Premier Eye Care, on why she supports Girl Scouts and this program through her sponsorship investment.
I'm Lorna Taylor, the CEO of Premier Eye Care and Woman of Distinction Class of 2013. Premier Eye Care is so proud to be the premier sponsor for Girl Scouts of West Central Florida's Trefoil Talks. Girl Scouting builds girls of courage, confidence, and character who make the world a better place. And as a Girl Scout, I know firsthand that the work this organization does is exceedingly important. At Premier Eye Care, we also work to create a safe place for women to excel and prosper. We ensure that women have equal pay to men and that they have equal access to positions at every level of the company, including the roles of directors, vice presidents, and officers. As business leaders, we believe in Girl Scouts and appreciate everything that Girl Scouts of West Central Florida is doing to develop and prepare our female leaders of the future. Thank you for joining us this evening, and we hope you enjoyed the first Girl Scouts of West Central Florida Trefoil Talk.
We are so thankful for Lorna's leadership and support of women and girls in our community. She challenges all to intentionally invest in programs, initiatives, and people to truly transform our world.
That's right. She is certainly an amazing role model, and I'm super excited with our chat with her and all of our other panelists tonight.
Yes, Lindsey, let's go ahead and meet Lorna and our other CEO guest.
Great plan. First, we are so happy to welcome Lorna Taylor, CEO of Premier Eye Care.
And everyone, please say hello to Dr. Tonjua Williams, President of St. Pete College.
And we have Rita Lowman, President of Pilot Bank.
And, of course, Arlene DeBenigno, President of Conversa and founder of the Women's Conference of Florida. Hello and welcome to each of you. I'm going to ask Lindsey to kick off our questions this evening to get us started. Lindsey?
Thank you, and hello, ladies. We have a lot of great questions, but we want to start the evening off by asking each one of you to share your journey becoming a CEO. My fellow Girl Scouts and I are hoping to learn a little bit more about what led you to your role and how you knew that you could be a CEO yourself. So, Dr. Williams, if you want to start us off.
Thank you so much. So excited exciting to be here with you tonight, and so glad to share my journey. I'm a college president of St. Petersburg College, so about 42,000 students, 3,000 employees, and I became president a long time after I started school. It wasn't something that I knew I wanted to do. I sort of fell into it after learning about my leadership skills and opportunities to help change lives. So if you were to ask me this question when I was 20, I would say I was going to be a counselor. And so as I continued to work with my mentors and others, I discovered that I had a leadership desire and skill set for it. And so I worked with a lot of people who helped me move through the ranks of the institution. And I applied for several presidencies, about 4 or 5, I believe, before I got to St. Pete College, my very own. So I hope to share with you later what some of the pitfalls were, what some of the great things were that got me to that point. But a strong family who was very supportive, a great, fantastic husband, Derek, helped me sustain and move into this role. So I am very proud of the opportunity. It is definitely a servanthood position. It's leadership, but it's all about service. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm super excited to hear more about your story as we continue on with the night. Ms. Lowman, if you'd want to start us off again with your story.
Absolutely, and first of all, thank you so much. I love the Girl Scouts, and we're glad to be here. I've been in banking for 44 years, and did I think I was going to be a president of a bank? I will share with you, in the late 70s, they did an article, and we were looking at it the other day, and my vision said that the ultimate would be able to be a senior vice president of a large bank. And so in the 70s, it was just so exciting to be a banker, not realizing what I could really accomplish with hard work and really going forward. Now, has it been a journey and a challenge? It has been. But it's been one that's been worth it, and to see the emerging leaders around me and who's going to be following in my footsteps, I'm proud of that every moment. And I go back to what Dr. Williams was saying. Whatever position we have, it's a service position. We're serving others to be the best that we possibly can be. And I love that about banking, and especially about community banking, because we're out in our community doing what we enjoy doing and helping others really realize their dreams and building. This past year's been a testament to that for so many people, and I'm glad that we were able to be a part to help many of these businesses stay afloat. But more importantly, I'm so proud to be one of the sponsors, with many sponsors, of the Girls CEO Camp, and I think that's so important too. Thank you, Lindsey, for the question.
Of course, I think it's so amazing how you were able to talk about recognizing your position as a leader in the community and helping people. I think that's a great message for the younger girls here. Ms. DeBenigno, we'd love to hear your story next.
Thank you so much, and first and foremost, thank you for the Girl Scouts of West Central Florida for hosting this amazing event, and Lorna for your sponsorship. For me, it was, I entered the political industry at a very young age and remained there for many, many years, and came to the conclusion that I really wanted to work for myself, that it was time for me to take that path and to focus on projects that were important to me, that were my passion projects, and to serve clients that I felt I could relate to their mission and apply all of the skills that I had learned in this amazing industry. As it pertains to founding the Women's Conference of Florida and being the CEO of that organization, it was an opportunity for me to give back and to highlight women throughout this amazing state that are so talented and bring so much to the table. It's an opportunity to really serve and to provide an outlet for so many others. And as Rita just mentioned, it's the serving, it's the giving back, it's having that ability to get to that point in your career where you're able to do that. And it was something that was of extreme passion for me. So I think it's something I encourage everyone to do, is to find that passion.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm definitely looking forward to hearing more about your work and your service and just how those go hand in hand. And last but not least, Ms. Taylor, if you'd like to take us off.
Thank you, Lindsey. And also thank you, Yvonne, and the leadership of Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. I know everyone on this panel feels the same way I do, and we just admire you, we applaud you, we're excited about the work you're doing. And I also am a fan of every single person on this panel, from Dr. Williams, Arlene, Rita, just amazing women that inspire me so much. So I was one of those people that had no idea what I wanted to do. My passion was in the nonprofit sector, and in my 20s I was working in nonprofit. I had a job that was a great job in New York, but I was living in a tiny little apartment and, you know, just couldn't afford food, and it got pretty dire. And I remember my mom saying to me, honey, I know you love nonprofit, but you could also go into business. I think you'd be good in it. And then you could give money away. And it sounded so silly, but, you know, that's exactly what happened. So I took a position, and I do want to say this, every once in a while we get a break. And sometimes I do find, you know, with some of my younger friends, they're waiting for those big breaks to happen. But mostly how our careers happen is working the hours, making the relationships day after day, one foot in front of the other, and it builds slowly after time. But I do want to mention one break I had, because I think it speaks to the value of Girl Scouts. And I had taken a role, that was the first job I had after leaving the nonprofit sector, and I took a role working with a large ophthalmology practice, and it was just a one-year gig. And afterwards, my husband and I moved to Atlanta, and I got a call and offered a job that actually turned into the company that I have now. But there was a woman who, her parents were in the Holocaust. She was the first woman to go to college. She became a really brilliant surgeon, and it was in an area, eye specialty, that was really unusual for women to be in. And in her position, she found herself sitting at sort of that metaphoric table of power, that she had a seat, and they were discussing, some different ophthalmologists with her were discussing, and they were all men except for her, but they were discussing this new company they wanted to launch and who could lead it. And she brought up my name and advocated for me, and it changed my life. So after that, it was 1,000 little things, but it was a woman who took that opportunity, who had a seat at the table, to bring along another woman and give her a seat at the table.
Wow, that's powerful, and what a statement. And it's interesting because it's a perfect lead-in, Lorna, to our next question, that many of our viewers are Girl Scouts looking out beyond their high school years. For many of them, college is really not a realistic next step for them because of different reasons, whether it's finances, cultural considerations, their interests, test scores and grades, or, you know, a whole host of other reasons. And I want to explore, what would you share to some of these girls as they start and work to advance their careers, and what are any ideas or resources that you suggest they take advantage of? And I'd love to start this question with Arlene to kick us off. Arlene?
Thank you, Yvonne. Well, I think college is so important, and it's certainly something that so many young women are focusing on at this time. I do have to say, though, I have mentored a number of young women where college was not the avenue for them. So I certainly want to say that there's a variety of different avenues and opportunities. But, you know, if it's from the avenue of a financial hurdle, you know, community college, and Dr. Williams can attest to this, is a perfect opportunity to begin that process. I certainly don't want to say that there's not a way for young women to be able to attain that. And certainly with every opportunity available, the number of scholarships, for example, that are available today for young women, if they're in a specific industry, a STEM or a STEAM industry, for example, that's so important. So I highly encourage them to take that step. From my perspective, as a Latina, I can say culturally it was a little bit different. I think there were certain expectations that were there for me versus my brother as to what my path should be. And so it took me a little bit more to encourage my father especially to allow me to pursue that avenue and to go to the college that I was interested in attending. And so I want to say for those young women out there that certainly have that hurdle, you know, ahead of them, I attached myself to a counselor who was so important in my life, who was such a mentor. And so she helped me encourage my parents to open that door and to allow me to pursue my interest and dreams. So don't let anything get in the way, I guess is definitely the bottom line, because everything is achievable. Don't allow that no to be a no. Find a way to turn that around, because it's certainly, education is something that no one can take away from you ever.
Thank you, and I appreciate your candor on that of your journey and being able to speak so authentically to a lot of our viewers. Thank you for that. Lorna, I don't know if you'd like to add to this, and really what you spoke of being an advocate. It's really interesting what these girls are facing, and what kind of resources and so on would you suggest that they tap into, or strategies?
Sure. And I so appreciate what Arlene said regarding there are paths for college that might not be now they're becoming more and more normal, from online classes, night classes, things you can do, even if you're a single mom working at night or something. And I will just add this, college is not for everyone. It might not be for you because of just how you tick, but it also might absolutely not be an option. And there are other opportunities to make a solid living and really be able to put a roof over your head and to do very well and to have a great career. For instance, at my company, I have quite a few persons who took an 8-month course in medical claims management and how to process medical claims. It's a very nuanced job. It requires a lot of expertise, but they make very good salaries and a very good living. Also, we have half of our company is technology. And what I find is that we have people that have PhDs, but we also have people who excel in technology that have a GED. They didn't even finish high school. And it has to do with their own core competencies and then how they were self-directed to learn those things. And a lot of this, especially we've learned now during COVID, they can do a lot of that work from home. So I would say that there are trades that can be done, especially STEM, that really could be done from home and do not require a college education. Although if that is your hope and your dream, there are paths to get there that maybe are not the normal path.
Wonderful, thank you. A lot of innovative thinking there for sure. That's your model for your business for sure. Dr. Williams, you're the champion of making sure that anybody that wants to can get to college. I'm sure that's part of your mantra in this, but any other tips that you have employed to help young women to find success?
Absolutely, thank you so much. And college is not for everyone, but education is. And so whether that education is a 5-week course or a 10-week course, we have to, as Girl Scouts, help our girls invest in themselves. And so I would say that it would be good for them to start in middle school with job shadowing, spending time with people who are doing a job that they may be interested in, and asking questions and making sure they understand, does this feel good for me, or is this kind of strange? And to continue to do that. They could go to the technical college and take up a major trade and make good money. They could actually go to the military and be trained and make great money. They could actually come to college but not get a college degree and take up a non-credit certificate. Like SPC just started a line worker program. In 14 weeks, they make $50 grand when they're done, a year with no degree. And so if we can help our girls explore what they like, do some job shadowing, invest in themselves, actually do some kind of skills inventory of whether or not a particular role will fit their belief system, their value system. One of the things that we've all talked about is we kind of fell into our jobs. Well, the way the world works now, jobs are being created daily. And we don't have the luxury of falling into them as much as we used to. We need to plan for them, and we need to make sure our girls have the skills they need. So to me, job shadowing, taking some sort of career inventory, spending time learning about those jobs, and then looking at what is the best path to get there. It's not always college. If you're interested in college, you may not start with that. You can take up a short trade in something that is still applicable to a college degree. They're called stackable credentials. So even if you get a certificate, it can later on apply to a college degree where you're not starting over and proving you have that skill. sorry to take so long, but it's an area I'm passionate about, and making sure that they know a degree doesn't mean more money. So you need to make sure that you invest in yourself and make sure that what you're going into is going to yield to a livable wage.
Wonderful. We've certainly got the expert here at the table, and I appreciate you going in depth in that, because that is very valuable, helpful information to the girls watching tonight. So thank you very much. And Rita, you, I know, are such an advocate for women entering the workforce and helping them really succeed. So what would you share tonight to those girls?
First of all, education is the most powerful tool to change the world, as Nelson Mandela said, and I believe that. However, I also believe what others have said, it does not necessarily need to be through a full 4-year degree. It can be other routes. But let me share, a lot of times when you go into the workforce, for instance, like in banking, banking will pay for that education. They will help you, whether it be, and you're going to be receiving a degree in some type of finance, business, or something along those lines. However, it really is exciting to think that I can work and I can go to school also. Plus, through the American Bankers Association, we have courses that we become certified in, and that's a real positive as you're moving up in the banking environment. One of the things that I enjoy doing is going out to schools, and USF is a prime example. I have, my last 2 years, my intern has come from USF, and I love that because I want to bring interns in that are going to enjoy the banking environment, and it doesn't have to be in the banking center. When you get to work with the president of the bank, you're going to be doing a little bit of everything, and that's a real excitement for young people quite often to do that. But more importantly, you get to see, as Tonjua was saying, the different aspects as it relates to the banking industry, and I think that's important. In the old days, and when I say the old days, 20 years ago, the larger banks had true programs. They had the programs that were called management associate programs. Those are not out there anymore, so you're learning on the job. That's why it's important to have that skill set, that we can teach you the technical skills, but we cannot teach you the people skills. And I always have believed that. The people skills come from within, and that's really important that you know, are you a frontline person? Are you a backroom person? Whichever it is, that's okay. And then we'll teach you the technical skills to go around that particular position. So again, you know, Yvonne, I feel like the education happens every day. I was in the course tonight, as I'm sure some of you were, that USF is doing on Wednesday nights right now. So I never stop learning, and I think it's important for me.
Wonderful. Those answers were just chock full of things. I hope that those girls were taking notes and can reference back. Lifelong learning is certainly something that we can all pursue, and y'all were amazing with those answers. Lindsay's got our next question.
Yes, we do. We have Lily P., a Girl Scout, who wrote in, and she's asking, what helps keep you inspired to make change in your community?
We'll start with Lorna on that one. Okay. Lorna? The change maker.
What inspires you to
keep making change in your community?
Okay. You know, I love my job. I truly love my job, and I love to work, and I love the independence and freedom that it gives me. But I probably would not do my job. I'm one of those people that wouldn't do it if I wasn't paid to do it. I've got some friends in my life who are artists and different things, and they love what they do so much that they would do it even if they weren't paid. So I probably would not fall into that category. However, what I do love is being not only an entrepreneur, a business entrepreneur, but I love being a social entrepreneur. And we've been really able to build a company where that is just part of our core values. So we're very devoted to diversity, equity, inclusivity, gender, race, ethnicity, and we have a very strong philanthropic arm. And I have to say, just us being able to create change in the society and in our community, and we actually see the impact where we're giving to students, and with different programs, different scholarship programs, we see them go on to college and then come back and get great jobs and different things. That becomes part of what work, in terms of working, that becomes part of the noble cause for me. Like, I feel like I'm not just part of an industry that's highly regulated and highly compliant, and I'm not just checking another box and putting another peg in a hole and all of that, but I feel like I'm part of something that's larger. And I'm very appreciative for the opportunity actually to lead Premier, because Premier finances so much of that and makes that community service possible.
Thank you. I think it's an amazing message just to hear somebody in such success still wanting to give back to their community, and something that younger girls like myself can strive for in our future years. Dr. Williams, would you want to start next?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And like Lorna, it's all about giving back. You know, one of my faculty stated to me one day, she said, you know, it's so important that our students learn, earn, and return. So they learn new things, they earn the wages they need, and they return back to society. Well, being born and raised in St. Petersburg, born in poverty, having so many people stand in the gap on my behalf, I have been a recipient of such help. And so what keeps me going is the notion of making sure that I return what I receive. And I think with Girl Scouts, that's what it's all about. It's about building yourself up, but also learning how to give back, and seeing families walk across that stage with still students who are first generation, still getting a degree for the first time and changing their family totally, one person at a time, is what keeps me going every day. It's seeing the students lead the families, and that's what our Girl Scouts can do. Our parents may not have degrees, but as a young person, what you do will change the trajectory of your entire family for generations to come. That's what wakes me up every morning. That's what gets me to the office every day. It has also sustained me for 57 years because so many people have given to my life. So it's time for me to pay it forward.
That was,
oh my goodness, I'm going to do a while too.
yeah.
I was just getting started.
Yeah.
I
absolutely love your whole learn, earn, and return thing. I think that's such a great message just for girls to hear, and really inspiring, honestly, even for myself. Miss Lowman, if you'd like to go next.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very passionate about a couple of things, but one of the things is the industry that I serve. I'm an advocate for banking. I was the third woman in 130 years to serve as chair of the Florida Bankers, and I'm the first person in 20 years from Florida to serve on the executive committee of the American Bankers. So it's important that DC hears our voice, that we speak up, and to let young people know what that's about. Every year when it's possible, this past year, of course, we could not, I usually take about 25 students, or young people, I should say, emerging leaders, to DC for a 36-hour experience of advocating and what is it like to actually advocate. We did a session on this for the Girl Scout CEO camp, and letting young people know how important it is for their voice to be heard, whether it be in their office, whether it be in their community, or the state or nation, as I do. I think it's real important that you do that. I also invite my associates to sit with me whenever I am speaking to a congressional leader or to a senator, so that they can understand that conversation and how it looks and feels. The other thing that is passionate is, as Lorna and Tonjua both were saying, giving back to your community. That doesn't necessarily mean dollars. Give of yourself. We share with our associates, yes, we are going to be giving dollars, but what are you passionate about? And we will go out with you and be able to give to that particular community or that activity or that initiative. So there's many ways of giving in the community, and there's many ways of doing things that you're passionate about. But don't do something just to do it. Make sure you see that inner side of you and that it's something you want to do. Don't ever give yourself so much to do that you don't do something well. And I've always shared with my associates that it's great to sit on a board, but make sure it's one or two boards that you're going to be able to give back to and really devote time to it along those lines, not just to be sitting on a board.
Wow, I think that is such an amazing message just about advocating for young people standing up for themselves. I know that's a huge thing we focus on in Girl Scouts, but thank you so much for just saying that to everybody listening here. And last but not least, we have Miss DeBenigno, if you'd like to wrap us up.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, the story I'd like to share is at the very young age of 19, I was very passionate about politics, and someone opened that door for me. And I promised myself that I would never forget that. And that door offered me the opportunity in my career to serve three separate governors and two presidents. And to find myself a young woman walking into the White House every day was an honor. And I saw the power of policy, not only at the federal level, but at the state level. And also working in politics, which tends to be a male dominated industry, I saw so many women that were talented that unfortunately were not afforded the opportunity that I had been given to serve in these extremely important positions. And so I promised myself very early on that I would find a way to be able to do that. And so in 2015, I founded the Women's Conference of Florida because I think it's an opportunity to bring women, again, as I said earlier, across the state together to address issues that are impacting them professionally and personally. But more importantly, as a part of that conference, I created the College Women on the Rise program, which brings economically disadvantaged young women from across the state at no cost to them to our event. And the day prior to the conference, we've created an entire day of different workshops, focused on financial literacy, focused on networking skills, various things that they will be able to use throughout their lives. And since 2015, we've given close to $65,000 in scholarships. And for me, it's that investment in seeing how a young woman can be in a room that they would normally never have access to, because it is about access. And we have a responsibility at where we are in our career to give back to the next generation, because I can tell you nothing will change for women unless we make that investment. And the biggest investment we can give to a young woman, both financially and from a personal perspective, is giving them access. So for me, someone gave me that access. So many women supported me, even when they, weren't at the table, encouraged me, gave me an opportunity when others would not. And so I feel, as all of the other women on this panel have said tonight, you get to that point in life where you can continue working very hard, you can continue donating the dollars, but it's important to create a pathway. And I can't stress that enough. Again, giving me that opportunity of being at the table at the tender age of 19 led to an incredible career in Washington, D.C., and led me to found an organization that now helps young women. So for me, that is really the definition of giving back. And I think every woman needs to commit to doing that in order for there to be change.
That's true. It's so wonderful to sit with y'all tonight, and I feel like we're just all getting to have a very comfortable conversation. But you've certainly challenged me personally, and I know that extends to everybody else that's out there watching. And I really appreciate the passions that you bring, and so on. But one of the questions that we're moving to is that y'all are very polished, you're very passionate, you've the pinnacle of success with things, but we want to dig in a little bit to talk about some of the harder things in life in the journey, and ask you, what types of obstacles have you faced that others may not know about you, including just life challenges, mistakes, discrimination, or anything else that's impacted you, and ultimately, what did you learn from those things? And I'd love to start with you, Rita, on that question.
Absolutely. Well, I've been in the industry. It's a male-dominated industry, and the whole state of Florida, there are less than 10 women that are presidents of banks, true presidents of banks. And so I've learned a lot along the lines, but I will share with you, Yvonne, as you know about me, I'm very direct. I believe in honesty, integrity. I also believe in your character. That's very important. And I'm not one to play politics. I go in and do the job, and I want to be rewarded for that job. Now, I will raise my hand and say, hey, I would like to do this. And that did create the opportunity and the challenge for me to move 8 times during the first 8 years of my children's life. And so that meant that our family was up because my husband and I actually lived apart for 7 years. He was an executive with Kraft Foods. I was an executive with Nations Bank, Bank of America. And so that was a challenge within itself. But in that day and time, for me to move up in banking and become a true generalist, I am not a specialist, I'm a generalist in banking because I know a lot about a number of different areas. However, I made that choice. Now, the one thing that I say that I don't recommend this for everyone. For me, it did help me in my career to put me where I am today. The other thing is I've sat in a boardroom, and some of you have heard me share this before, but not the Girl Scouts. I've sat in a boardroom where the chairman of the board, I would be the only woman in the room, and he called me honey. And, I'm from Georgia, and I always share that's an endearing term, but it's not a place in the boardroom. And to be able to share with the chairman one-on-one, I did not do this publicly by any means, but I didn't want to be called honey in the boardroom. That was a little bit of a pull and give and take, I guess you could say, because he didn't understand that. Now, I believe he really did. However, saying he did not understand it. And so you have to speak up for the things that you believe in. You also have to speak up for those promotions that you want or the things that you feel like you can do. And believe me, you might not have all of the skill set that's needed, but you can learn that skill set. And there was a particular position that I wanted with Nations Bank, and I actually shared, I would like to do this. It was managing a major project for the company. And they said, well, we've always had in the other states, the men are doing this. I said, I want to be transferred back to Florida and I want to manage it. Well, I will tell you that this was a project that was to take 3 years. I was able to complete it in 8 months. Now, I could have been afraid and said, now what am I going to do? But I said, no, I'm saving the bank money and we're doing what's right. So think about that as you're doing projects, as you're doing things, raise your hand and let them know you want to be able to be a part of the team and play on that team.
Yes. And Rita, you have blazed a lot of trails, and I really admire your bravery and your willingness to put your hand in the air. I always encourage girls to do that. You volunteer. If you don't volunteer, nothing happens. If you don't put yourself out there and so on. So thank you for that. Dr. Williams, Tonjua, would you?
Yes, thank you so much. Rita, I so admire you. Thank you so much for sharing that. It gave me the courage to go ahead and say what I'm going to say. So if I get in trouble, it's your fault. I just want you to know that. So, 34 years ago when I started at the college, I worked in financial aid as an accounting clerk. My first 6 months, I was put back on probation. And I was put back on probation for my attitude and for just speaking my mouth. And, the problem was I came from the hood. So my mom raised me to speak my mind and to be honest. Well, that did not fit in the culture of higher education. There's a protocol. So for me, when we talk about the challenges that we have, the first thing I would tell our Girl Scouts is that you have to find a way to fit in, but not blend in. Like you can't get lost in it. You can learn how to work in the industry, but you can't sell your soul to it and lose who you are. Now, to do this, you have to be willing to understand who you are. So the first thing we have to do is learn to love ourselves. And my grandmother would say, eat the meat and spit out the bones. Now, excuse me for saying that, but basically it's saying, look at the good things and throw away the bad things. So the first thing I had to do at SPC is to decide, am I willing to make the change? Am I willing to improve on myself without selling my soul? So I got through the second probationary period, and I had a mentor, had several who worked with me. The second thing I had to learn to do was listen. The thing about growth and change is most of us think we already know it, but as young women, there are other women who have been there already who can help you avoid the pitfall of making the wrong decision. So the second thing I would say is listen. The last thing I would say is At SPC, I've been there 34 years. Once I got to the leadership table, I was basically the only African-American female, period. There are 28 colleges that are community state colleges. Out of the 28, there are 2 Black female presidents. I'm one of them. That also includes the 12 universities and the private colleges in Florida. So there's 2 of us in the whole deal. I am the first one in the history ever of SPC to have a woman or a minority. So the last thing I want to say is, you know, just like Rita, practice courage over comfort. You know what you're capable of. Being the first can be a burden, but it's also something that you will be incredibly proud of, because you have blazed a trail for others to come behind you and do it better, quicker, and faster. And that's what Rita talked about, is we've got to get there to make sure the rest of us get there. If we stop, if we question and doubt ourselves, if we continue to talk ourselves out of being great, and I'm nowhere near being great, but I'm a grinder. You know what that is? That's a person who, as soon as you tell me no, the answer is going to be yes. It's going to happen. And Rita talked about that. She did it in 8 months, something that was supposed to be done in 3 years. Well, where I am, for some people, where I came from, it should have never happened. So don't take every no as permanent. Take it not now. So if there's something you're trying to do and it doesn't work right away, the no doesn't mean not ever. It means not now or not this one. But when you get the right one, you're going to rock it. But don't be afraid of change. Don't be afraid of looking at the ugly side of yourself. We all have it. You know, I tell my folks I have an alter ego named Shaniqua, and she's a bad girl. You do not want to meet her. Okay, I try to keep her under wraps. But if Shaniqua lived outside all the time, it would be horrible. So some of us are letting the wrong thing lead us when there's some good there that we need to harness and move forward. So don't take no as permanent. Always want to work on yourself and recognize when you're wrong. You know, when I started at SPC, I was just horrible. And I had a degree in it. I had 2 degrees, but my attitude was way off. And I thought I had to prove something. But what I needed to prove was not how mean I could be. And so we need to check our attitudes, because that will dictate our altitude and how far we can go in life. Thank you.
Yes. Tonjua, I do not want to be between you and one of your goals. Let me just say that. And Shaniqua, I have met her before, and it's a treat. So, Arlene, what kind of obstacles have you faced, and what have you learned from them? I mean, the lessons that each of us are sharing, it's wonderful. So tell us about your story.
Absolutely. So, Yvonne, in 2010, I had just finished working on a political campaign, and a new league had helped elect a new governor. And I was recruited to Tampa to work on a national convention. And immediately following the national convention, I was offered the job of my dreams with Bloomberg in New York. I was flown to New York. I went through the interview process, spent about 3 days, and thought to myself, this is going to be the most amazing opportunity. Came back to Tampa and was in the midst of making arrangements to relocate when I became deathly ill. And unfortunately, that illness led to a year-long stay in bed. And I was bedridden for a year, and I was devastated. I didn't know how I was going to move forward, how I was going to basically restart. I'd never known a time in life where I wasn't working, where I wasn't, focusing on projects I was interested in. And eventually I became well enough and decided that that's when I made the decision. I want to work for myself. I want to start this company and really focus on what's important to me. And the mistake I made and the hurdle I encountered, I really placed on myself. I didn't want anyone to know that I was sick. I had kidney disease. I was on dialysis 3 times a week, 5 hours each treatment. And I was afraid that my clients would judge me, that people would think, well, this is not the same person we've known for the past 30 years, who's been working on so many projects, it's been doing so many things. I put so much pressure on myself, which I think women tend to do. We want to worry about everyone else. We want to take care of everyone else, and we don't stop to think about ourselves. And I was worried that a client was going to say to me, well, are you sure you can do this? Are you sure you can work on this project? And so I stayed quiet, and nobody knew. It was something that I was very silent about until one day I did decide to share with the client, and they were stunned. And they said, well, why didn't you tell me before? And I explained my reason why. And they were just shocked that I had kept this from them. And it taught me a very valuable lesson. And what I did with that is I then empowered myself to be vulnerable. And I think women sometimes tend to shy away from being vulnerable. And what happened when I did that was I came across so many other women, and it wasn't necessarily a health issue they were encountering. It was a divorce. It was the death of a spouse. It was a loss of a job, later in their career, and not understanding how they were going to start over. And it taught me that if we are not vulnerable, if we do not share our story, if we walk around with this armor of everything is perfect all of the time, everything is wonderful. I mean, I was afraid, I would come out of dialysis treatment at 9:30 at night, and I was at a coffee meeting at 7:30 the next morning, and I was dying inside. I mean, I just wanted to be in bed. And because I wasn't willing to give in to that, it was only hurting myself. It was hurting the projects I was working on. So that vulnerability, that ability as a woman to give yourself a break, to acknowledge that you're not perfect, that you don't need to be perfect for everyone around you. And I think to lean on other people. I learned to ask for help. I learned to say, I'm just not going to be able to do that today. Can you help me? And then more importantly, I learned to say no. And I think, again, that's something women have a very hard time saying is, no, I can't do that, but I can, I can't do it today. I can do it tomorrow. So I think vulnerability, look, tough times are going to come in life. They're not just going to be related to your career, but they're going to impact your career. Be vulnerable, learn to ask for help. It will be amazing how your vulnerability will help others and encourage others. And learn to say no. Learn to say, I can't do that right now, but I'll be able to maybe do that for you tomorrow or the following day. And I think it's amazing. You'll see how other people are way more graceful and gracious than you thought that they were. And so it's amazing not only what you're giving, but what you receive as well.
Yeah. And Arlene, I would say from all of us right now, we just want to give you a hug. Yes, we love you and all that you've been through, and you are just grace through it all. And that challenge to all of us to be vulnerable, that is very hard. Can all of us shake our heads? That is very hard. And to our Girl Scouts, I would say it's even harder because of the pressure of social media, and that everything's got to be perfect at all times. And that I would extend to our younger girls watching to say that is not reality, and to be able to be transparent and forthcoming is really, really important in this day and age, even more so. Lorna, I'd love for you to add on to this as well. This is rich. I really appreciate everybody's comments here.
Sure, just briefly. And, Arlene, thank you for sharing that. It's just a beautiful, beautiful story. So I think as women, when Rita was talking about her boardroom experience, I was thinking about one that I had that was very similar, but I'm afraid to say anything about it because I think it could tell who it was. But it's almost every day there's these little microaggressions, whether you're a woman of color, you're gay. I mean, there's so many microaggressions that can maybe come our way. And it is so important to trust our gut and to trust our vision and to hold firm to that. And for me, I had some struggles with that. When I was younger, I had really high anxiety. And when I got to graduate work, it was actually diagnosed. I had social anxiety, which I didn't know what it was. I just knew I got really nervous when I had to speak or something. And so it is actually, I think, a testament to how we can overcome things, because part of it is we need to, but for me, it happened through the mentors around me. I would share like, hey, I'm really scared about this, or I have to speak at this thing, or I have to do something. And they would help, and we'd practice, and they'd give me breathing tips. And I went to a doctor and she shared some things with me. But there, whether it's sort of a personal thing that we're dealing with, or it's external, it's external pressures. I think as long as we're really holding true to who we are and holding true to our gut and to our vision. And I will tell you, there were days as a CEO that I did not feel like a CEO. I felt like I was faking it. And I would sometimes joke, we just need to fake this till we make it. And I would tell myself that. And also sometimes I felt like an imposter. And you might know there's a book written about the imposter syndrome where, I'd be sitting in a room of men and I thought, they know so much more than me. I'm never going to be able to, pull this off. And I'm going to be discovered as this imposter. And it was really emancipating later on in my career, where I came to actually truly believe and trust and accept actually the power and the voice I had. And so just for whatever that's worth, it is a process sometimes, and it doesn't happen always right at the beginning of our career. It could take a couple decades.
Yes, indeed. The imposter syndrome is alive and well. And I think we could all raise our hand and say, yes, we've been there, we've dealt with it, and probably try and slay that dragon every day on an ongoing basis. We have one last question, if we can get to it quickly, Lindsey.
Yes. So we, on behalf of all of the young women who are tuning in tonight, all of the Girl Scouts, I just wanted to ask if you could give yourself one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be, and what have you learned?
Yeah, if we could do this one quickly, we want to wrap up tonight, but we want to hear this one for sure. We'll start with Arlene. Yeah, good.
I'm going to do two quick ones. The first is, do not worry about what others think about you. You will spend hours upon hours that you could be doing so many other productive things. So do not do that to yourself. The second is, I strongly recommend, do not attach yourself to a person, a company, an organization. Attach yourself to a mission. Attach yourself to something that is personally important to you, because that will be not only how you keep your power, but it will also be how you keep your peace. So those are my two very quick pieces of advice.
I think that advice is so empowering and so amazing, especially to hear from somebody with such success. Lorna, did you have anything you want to share?
Sure. I also have two things. The first has to do with when things are coming at us. Sometimes it's easy to think that they'll be the best thing ever, the worst thing ever. But one thing I learned is that things are rarely as good or bad as they first appear. And so when we're waiting for a big decision or something to come down, it helps to sort of temper and moderate some of the stress that can be linked to that, because the reality is that it's rarely as big or as bad as at first appears. But the other thing is, we go where we look. And sometimes it's really easy to get into the weeds and be really involved in all the detail work and trying to take care of everyone and run this and run that, go here, go there, contribute here, contribute there. But it's so important that we take those moments to really look up, view the horizon, and really think about what we want to do with our lives. This is our life, and how do we want it to look? And if we start imagining that and then envisioning what that is, and we look in that direction, that's the direction we're going to walk. So never forget where you want to walk, because we go where we look.
Wow. Good. I think that's such a great takeaway, from the whole night, a good summary of everything that you guys have come to discuss. Miss Lowman, would you have a piece of advice to give your younger self?
I would. First of all, every woman on this call right here, your panel, Yvonne, they all have their own brand. And it's important. We've not really talked about branding, but what do you want that brand to stand for and to look like and to feel? And I think it's important as you continue to grow that you're true to that brand, and that brand really resembles your honesty, integrity, and character. But let me leave you with one of my favorite quotes. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something that we love is called passion. I encourage each of you to really find what you have a passion in and to give that, whether it be in your work environment, that environment outside with your philanthropy, but make sure you love what you're doing and that you want to get up in the mornings and do that. And I can honestly say, after 44 years in banking, I love it every day. And that's really important because, again, with the support that I have from my family, they know that I do. And today I'm working because I want to, because I enjoy what I do. I could be here with my husband enjoying our company, but I don't. I work for a different company. And that's what you want to do, is throughout your career, love what you're doing.
Great.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that's such a powerful message to give younger girls, just to find something you're passionate about and keep pursuing it down that lane. Yeah. And Dr. Williams, do you have one last piece of advice to close up the night?
Yes, Viola Davis said that we are simply worthy just by being born. Wow. You are worthy, and you need to be your best authentic self. Notice I said best. Sometimes being authentic can get you in trouble if you're doing the wrong thing, but make sure that you make the rest of your life the best of your life and realize you are worthy.
Yes. Can we get an amen on that one?
Mm-hmm.
I just want to thank each of our panelists for their candor, their wisdom tonight. And again, I'm going to speak personally. You're the wind beneath my wings. This is exactly what I needed. And I hope that translates to everybody that's viewing tonight and in the future that'll reference back to this. You all are full of light and joy and purpose and bring so much to the conversation. And the Girl Scouts had such a vision whenever they brought you all together to be able to speak to the group tonight. And I'm just grateful to call you friends, but to have gotten to spend this time with you tonight. So thank you for making the time and for investing back into our community in all the ways that you do, but especially for tonight on behalf of Girl Scouts. Thank you so much.
Yeah, to say it again, just from the perspective of somebody who really admires these successful women in business, I think you gave such inspiring messages tonight. And I know, at least for me, it was really inspirational and empowering. And to all of my fellow Girl Scouts listening, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And I hope all of you gained as much from this as I know that I definitely did. And if you're interested in tuning into more Trefoil Talks, you can actually meet some requirements for new badges. And if you want more information about that, you can go ahead and check it out at GSWCF.org/WOD.
Lindsey, I want to also say it's been an honor to get to co-host with you tonight. You're a pro, and I see a great future ahead in broadcasting or whatever career your path you're going to choose. You're amazing. You're just a delight.
Thank you so much, Ms. Yvonne. It's been a great honor to be able to co-host this and talk to this amazing panel. We have an interview that we're going to do together that'll be released next month on May 5th, kind of talking more about your own work and your own company also, to make sure to tune into that.
Yes, I'm excited to get to talk with you during that interview. We'll probably talk about some other things and go down some other paths. And we also invite all of our viewers to the next live Trefoil Talk on June 2nd at 7:30. Our focus is on civics, with some of our honorable elected officials joining us for a candid conversation about how to engage in public service. That's a great conversation given the times that we're in. Thank you again for joining us. We have one more message from Laura Webb, Girl Scouts of West Central Florida Board Chair, to close out the night. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Laura Webb, President of Girl Scouts of West Central Florida's Board of Directors. Thank you for joining us for our Women of Distinction Trefoil Talk. I hope you found it insightful. I want to give a special thanks to our sponsors, including Fried Egg Productions and Premier Eye Care, for their generous support of this project, as well as so many others. And thank you to everyone watching for your belief in girl possibilities through your support and participation with Girl Scouts of West Central Florida. We provide life-changing opportunities for thousands of girls and young women in our community, but we couldn't do it without you. you can still go to gswcf.org/WOD to make a contribution. Thank you again. We hope to see you at our next Trefoil Talk and in person at our 30th anniversary event on March 18th, 2022.